Alright guys, so it's an exciting day for me today. Today we're going to be digging up my dahlia tubers. Now, I bought some from Walmart as tubers already, so I'm expecting them to pretty much look the same. Maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a few more tubers attached to each one. And then I also started some from seed, so I'm really excited to see what those look like. Because I planted this tiny little dahlia seed and now I should have tubers in the ground. So we're going to be digging those up today. And as you can see, you see that? That's snow. It is pretty cold here. It is December 17th, yes. And just last week, I think we hit, in the 70s. So it hasn't been like terribly cold for too long. And ideally, you want to dig up your dahlia tubers about 2 weeks after they die back. I'm pretty sure it's been 2 weeks, maybe 3, somewhere around there, but our weather's been up and down, like I think a week and a half ago, I was running around outside in shorts. So now it's snowing, it's cold. Let me just show you what I'm gonna do. All right, so here's my basket. I'm going to be putting them in. And then over here by my swing set, I planted on each side 3. So I've got one here. Let me zoom out a little bit. I've got one here, one right here. So you can see they're good and dead. And then one back behind here. And it's the same on both sides. So I've got 6 here to dig up. And then over here are the ones that I planted from seed. Look at those snapdragons. Still going strong. And I didn't plant any of those. That's all from, there's a little pile of them right there, and they reseed themselves behind the hot tub. But these are the ones that I planted from seed. So 1, 2, 3 dahlias. And I can't remember the varieties of these, but I'll post it because I've got to keep them separated. But so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to come out about a foot or so and start digging down. And then you really have to be careful about digging up dahlia tubers because you don't want to damage the tubers themselves. If you do, then they won't grow any flowers the next year. And I didn't even explain to you, why am I digging up these? Well, I live in zone 7A. It gets too cold here for too long. I think in zones 8, it's kind of iffy if you can keep your dahlias in the ground over winter. But I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to risk it. I want to have these for next year. So I have to dig them up and store them someplace cool and dry. Once I dig them up, I'm going to let the tubers dry really well. That way I can get some of the dirt off of them. And maybe I will decide if I want to divide them once I see how many tubers there are attached to each of them. We'll see. All right, let's get going. So like I said, I started out about a foot away from the base of the plant, and I just kind of encircled it going around with the shovel. Once I had gotten it somewhat loosened, I got down and kind of worked around that circle, moving the dirt, and then I just kind of grabbed really close to the very base of, and kind of got my hand up underneath of it and grabbed the base of it and just kind of give it a little tug. And now you can mess up the root parts, you just don't want to mess up the tubers. That came up out of there pretty easily. All right, I think I'm actually just gonna trim these off and then just stick this in the basket. We'll clean it up a little bit more later. Then I just continued on with that same kind of process with the other 2 that were on this side of the swing set. So here I just wanted to show you how loose my soil was. When I planted these, I dug a very big hole cleaned out all the rocks and then really added in good loose garden slash peat moss soil. So I was able to just kind of use my hand and scoop around the base of the tubers until it was like, you know, far enough out that I just can kind of grab the top of the plant there and then pull it out very gently. I took a chance because potentially I could have broken off a tuber doing it that way, but it was really cold outside and I was a little bit impatient, so. For this one, I decided to try to get the shovel up underneath of it, which in hindsight, I will not do again because I will show you why in 3, 2, 1. Ah! Dang it. What you don't want to do. No, 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 no. Ugh. I moved on to the ones that I planted from seed and got those all dug out. These 3 had some really large tubers. I was so excited that I was successful growing them from seed. I've already bought 3 different types to grow from seed next year. That's so cool. I then just kind of covered up the holes with the remaining dirt, just, you know, to fill them in so that nobody falls in a hole. So I have to say, that was pretty easy. It's been like 10 minutes maybe, and I've dug up 6 of them already. I still have 3 more to do on the other side there. Fingers crossed. I am not meant for the cold weather. I am meant to live in Florida, but here I am in West Virginia right now. That was pretty easy. So when I planted the dahlia tubers, I made the hole that I was going to put them in really quite big, and then I put in some really good compost. I actually live like on a mountain and it's basically a hard rock. So when I want to plant stuff, I have to dig through the rock and pull out the rocks and then add in good soil. So that's what I did for these. So when it came to digging them up, the ground is kind of moist because it just like sleeted, snowed 2 days ago, and then it snowed again last night. So the ground is pretty moist, and once I dug around, you saw where I actually decapitated 2 tubers on that one, which I'm bummed about. I needed to take my time and I didn't, so I'll learn from that mistake because those were 2 really big tubers. They were probably ones that made some really pretty flowers, and I ruined them, destroyed them. Like I was saying, it was pretty easy to dig them up. Once I dug around them, I kind of moved the soil from around the top of them, and then I just kind of grabbed the stems really close to the dirt and kind of just jerked a little, not jerked, but like lightly pulled to try to tease them out. So the roots, it's really dirty. I have to let these dry out and then I'll clean them a little bit more. But you see all those hairy looking roots all around? Those are okay if you break them. It's the tubers, if you break or slice into those, that's what you don't want to do, which I showed you exactly how to do it. But you don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to dig up the other 3. Then we're going to take these in the basement where we have a wood pellet stove, so it's very warm in there. They'll dry out very quickly. I'll get the rest of the dirt off of them, and then I'll show you how I'm going to store them. So it is the next day. These have dried out somewhat, and I can clean them up a little bit. So I'm trimming off the stem, and then I'm going around knocking out some of the dirt and trimming some of the roots. Being careful not to chop any tubers, or some of them are very fragile and the neck of the tuber is very small, so you have to be careful when you're handling them that you don't snap the necks So I'm just very lightly trying to clean the dirt. After I do this, I then took these to the sink and rinsed them really, really well. Again, trying to get as much of the dirt that I possibly could off of them. You don't want to store your dahlias with a bunch of dirt because the dirt might retain moisture, which then can cause your tubers to rot. This is like being an archaeologist. Did you ever want to be one of those when you were a kid? Watching them use a little paintbrush to dig out the dinosaur? I loved that. That was a childhood dream, being an archaeologist. That was so cool. Maybe that's why I like to play in the dirt so much. Hi, Rona. So these are the ones I planted from seed. And this is what I got. Lots of tubers, and then here's like 2 little baby tubers. It's pretty cool. And I've got it pretty cleaned up. I'm gonna leave them sit out a couple more days before I pack them away, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. But that's pretty cool. A tiny little seed. This one's got a lot produced. All of these tubers that at some point I could separate and make more plants. Okay. Now that I've got them nice and cleaned up, I'm gonna go through and take a look at each one to see if there's any damaged tubers, because you don't want to store them with damaged tubers because they'll rot and then rot the perfectly good tubers. So you want to try to get off anything that's damaged. This one looks good. I don't see anything going on there. Now, if they're wrinkled like this, as long as they're like hard to the touch, they're okay. But if they're wrinkled, well, this one has like a little hole in it right there, but I think it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna leave this one be. All right. So this one right here, I'm kind of bummed about. I don't know. Because it looks like this tuber was damaged, right? But not during, looks like it was like that when I put it in the ground. And then it grew off all these other little tubers. I think I'm gonna leave that one and hope it's okay. I'm just going around squeezing them. If any of them are mushy or squishy, they're gonna go. Again, this one looks pretty good. And even this one, I'm gonna, since it's got these really decent looking tubers, I'm gonna leave it alone. And then again, this one, it looks pretty good too. I don't really see. They all feel nice and solid. All right. All right, so here is broke off. So we're gonna clip that one off. Now I wonder if I could, if this one can be replanted. I'm no expert on that, about whether you can tell. I'll store it like this and then we'll see what happens. I'll plant it next season. Okay, so here's where I'm running into trouble. This one right here doesn't look so hot, but it is so like embedded in there. I don't know how I could get it out. Maybe I'll just try to get it off as much as I can. I don't know. I'm afraid of damaging other tubers in the process. So I might just let that go. I'm going to check them periodically, probably once every few weeks, once I get them stored. And I'm going to store them up in my bedroom because it's the most temperature stable area of my house in the winter. And a big container of vermiculite. Right here, I actually damaged pretty badly when I was digging them up. So I'm going to go close to the neck here and clip them off. Trying not to mess with any of the other tubers. And then these are the stems. Let me cut them down a little bit more. Okay. Everything else feels pretty good. This one, and then this one here, you can see it's kind of damaged. I'm gonna break it off. What else? Anything else? Oh, they all feel pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna take these back down to the basement to dry one more time. So in my basement, I have my wood pellet stove burning, so it's very hot and it's very dry and warm down there. So they'll get dried out within a day. All right, so it is the next day, and we spent the night down in the basement drying out. They're really, really dry. Now we're gonna get them all stored. Oh, my makeup hands. I guess I should have washed that. Cleaning up my makeup area, so my hands messed with. So these are the cactus dahlias that I planted from seed, and I just dropped a few seeds in here to show you that this is what they started out as and became this in one summer. That's pretty cool. I'm actually going to put these away now. I'm not going to waste any seeds. And then I'm going to, so I've got these are just Dollar Tree baskets, right? So you want to have something that is aerated. And then I've got this, I don't know when I bought this, but you could use burlap. Like people will use burlap. And this is sort of black burlap. I must have been doing some sort of Halloween DIY that didn't get done. But, so I'm gonna put this in here like this. And then we're gonna go out to the greenhouse and we are gonna fill this up with vermiculite. I get my vermiculite because I mix it in and make my own seed starting mix with vermiculite and perlite, and so I get my perlite and vermiculite in these really huge bags. So let's go out and get these filled up. Okay, I'm out in the greenhouse now, and this is a new box that I just got from Amazon of perlite. So this is the vermiculite right here, so I need to get that out from back there. My greenhouse is a mess, but it is what it is. I probably need to get another box of this, but I'll show you the difference. So this is the perlite, the new box. Now I'll link this stuff, but you can add, I'll link this stuff down below. It's a lot cheaper to get it like this than the small bags that you get at like Lowe's or any other garden center. But this is perlite, and I mix some of this as well as this when I make my seed starting mix. Vermiculite, so it's darker. But they both have like moisture retention and aeration of, you know, things that tiny seedlings need. So basically for your dahlias, you just, this kind of keeps them from getting moist if you have any humidity, but I mean, my house is dry as a bone now. I have to put a humidifier, get it going, but I'm just gonna, yeah, I'm gonna need another bag of that. So, I don't know if I brought in enough, but we'll see. I'm going to do the one that has a lot first here. And so basically you're just going to bury them in this stuff. I might need to have another basket, I don't know. From here. Now this is gonna, I probably should have done this outside, but whatever. It's cold outside. It's like really cold. I'll just make a mess. So try to keep them as separated as you can. I want all these to fit in one, and then I want, yeah, this is gonna work. So this will be good. Periodically, you want to check these as well. You want to make sure there's nothing rotting in here, because if there's rot in one and you leave it sit, it could ruin the rest of them that you got. What a waste that would be. Like, that's pretty good. So then I'm just going to take the rest of this burlap here, and I'm just going to do this. Tuck that in. So I'm going to need some more for these three here. I'll just put these in here. Bury this one. I need a little bit more, yeah. Go out and get a bucket. All right. These are going to hang out until next spring, where I'm probably going to start them in buckets inside to get them going early, like I did last year. All right, guys, so that's going to be it for this video. I'm about to head outside into the cold and mow up some neighbor gifted leaves. I hope you found this video helpful, and maybe if you've been kind of intimidated, like I was, by where you live, that you have to dig up your dahlias and store them over the winter. It's a lot easier than I thought it would be. The digging up the process, if you just make the hole full of really good, loose, moist soil, they came right up out of the ground with just a little bit of tugging. It was so. And then this is a pretty easy process, just cleaning them up really well and then drying them out and sticking them in this stuff. So we'll see what happens, but please give this video a thumbs up and comment below if you have any questions, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.
So I'm storing them right in front of my new canning shelves that my husband built me in my bedroom. This room is the coldest room in the house during winter, so it works perfectly for storage.